If they don't spend more, we'll have no earbuds worth talking about. But lately, SoundPEATS is like they discover some secret menu of acoustic logics and finally decide to start mastering every code one by one. Hello friends, welcome back. This is Jessy. Today I got my SoundPEATS Air5Pro, Air5Pro Plus, and H3. When this launched, the whole pitch was basically like, look at our sound quality and look at the settings. Well, amazing! So our goal today is simple. Do these different driver combinations actually create different listening experience? And to be honest, in my opinion, the answer is already pretty obvious. Let's see if you agree with me. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Before we get into the actual listening experience, we need to talk about the driver setup first, because these three earbuds all use completely different technologies. We've got dynamic drivers, the balanced amateurs, and even xMEMS in the mix. I also bring in the Planar driver from the Space Travel 2 Ultra as a reference point as well. The dynamic driver are the most common type you'll see in the earbuds today, mostly because they are very cheap and effective. We're talking about like 1 to 2 RMB, it's just like a few cents each. A single dynamic driver can cover the entire frequency range that we can hear, and most of the ones you see in the market are in the 9 to 14mm range. Because they have a lot of space, they can deliver elastic, punchy bass and more natural, airy presentation, but their control in the upper treble is usually the weak point. The balanced amateurs are much smaller and they are great for fast transient and high-frequency detail, but their natural frequency bandwidth is usually around like 20 Hz to 1 kHz. So brands often stack multiple BAs together to cover the full range. And when the tuning isn't done well, those multiple drivers don't blend properly, and you will get harsh treble and metallic and sibilance. That's just the BA bite. Because of the material and the structure, the bass is also flatter and more rigid. As for xMEMS, this technology originally came from the microphone world. It's still mainly focused on high frequencies with extremely low distortion. It's just very hard to deliver dynamic and airy low end. And unless you can tune it very well, it's just very hard to deliver dynamic and airy low end, and the cost is much higher. The Planar drivers are basically a simplified version of the electrostatic drivers. It's super detailed and the soundstage is very big and very transparent, but they are not ideal for ultra-compact earbuds, and the bass impact is usually the weaker. And the Space Travel 2 was actually an example of how planar tuning can just go wrong, in my opinion. And so when it comes to the bass, the sense of space, impact, and overall atmosphere definitely relies on dynamic drivers. That's why all the three of the SoundPEATS setup packs a punch. And moving to the mid-range and vocals, each driver type has its strengths. Dynamic drivers keep vocals full and warm, which is why SoundPEATS always leans towards that slightly cozy, warm, and smooth character. And the high frequencies, the xMEMS really shines there, giving the great extension and clarity. Overall, the Planar drivers are the most balanced, wide soundstage, and good separation, while the xMEMS as a newer tech is really strong. But it still needs the dynamic drivers to handle the lows. So with Air5Pro Plus, in this kind of hybrid setup, what does it actually sound like? Let's see. The Air5Pro soundstage is overall like an oval. It's not very deep from the vertical ones, so most of the sound feels like it's happening right along the line of your ears. The biodiaphragm dynamic driver setup really nails that natural, warm, and immersive vibe. The bass boost is around 13 dB, with a noticeable mid and low up. So you give it the bass a more tangible presence. So if you listen to some bass, it doesn't punch super hard, but it's spread wide. And the bass wraps around everything like a big warm hand. The mids, especially vocals, are fairly flat. There is a slightly lift around 1.8 kHz, just enough to give presence without making the sound harsh or unbalanced. The tuning is very deliberate, so if you're going for that warm, mellow vibe, you just do it right. And the vocals feel thick and full, no stretchy, but there is not much fine detail. But on the other hand, the highs are a bit disappointing. The roll-off isn't just so smooth, and the control is just so-so, and the extension is limited. So just don't expect sharp transient or fine resolution. The instruments sound like woods. The piano, the guitar, the violin, the triangle, they all just sound like the wood. So overall, I didn't rate the Air 5 Pro super high in my first video. But for the right genres, think about the R&B, the hip-hop, the EDM, it still hits about 7 out of 10. And now, the Air 5 Pro Plus completely shed that warm muffled tuning. The soundstage feels much more rounder and extends all the way up to the top of your head. Its PU and peak diaphragm just give a snapper and more elastic feel, and the low-end hits are pretty precise. Since the boost gradually rolls off from the sideways, you still get that noticeable resonance. Just think of that there is a bouncy trampoline sitting underneath everything. And if you want a great track to really feel the texture of different drums, I recommend this sound to you guys. The bass drum has a big range here, but the sub bass on the Air 5 Pro Plus still struggles to dig deep. So if you're just a bass head, I honestly wouldn't recommend the Air 5 Pro Plus. The mids get a huge upgrade. The main peak sits around 3 kHz, making the vocals bright and expressive. It's full of emotion. And if you don't understand, here's the difference. Let's just take the I'm Your Man from George Tuner as an example. When it's on the Air 5 Pro, it sounds like a deep, calm voice whispering right beside you. But on the Pro Plus, it's like someone who just entered a new relationship and smiling, moving around and happily confessing their love. The vocal's position is very forward and almost touching your ear, and instrument sits noticeably farther back. Especially the female vocal sounds super emotional. The sibilance control is right spot on, and no harsh sibilance, but still full of detail. The treble is bright with great extension. It's just spread very wide, and without things go messy. The celesta and the triangle sounds crisp, clean, and well defined. You can literally feel the touch and the strike and the fade out. So when listening to something like Vivi La Vida, the violins keep pulling forward, but the kick drums is still clearly hold down the rhythm. Everything feels grand but not chaotic. But with K-pop, like the Angel, since the vocals are pushed forward and the instruments are pulled back, the busy mix can get a little messy in the highs and lows. Overall, this set shines with the vocals, orchestra music, the jazz, and simpler the K-pop and J-pop or meta tracks. Even though the H3 used 2 balanced amateur and only boosts the bass by about 10 dB, which should mean pretty neutral tuning, but 12mm dynamic driver is impossible to ignore. The bass presence is strong and the overall tone is still on the warmer side. With the same drum track as the Air 5 Pro Plus, the H3 feels more condensed but still very punchy. The vocal sibilance control is weaker. You can hear a bit of sharpness, and the high-end instruments aren't so bright. The extension is decent but not expressive. Basically, I think the tuning story is just like their release timeline. Air 5 Pro exposed the issue and H3 improves the texture and overall the authority. And after all that hard work, we finally get the Air 5 Pro Plus. But here's the truth. I think no matter how much you refine a product, no single tuning will be perfect for everyone. So picking based on your own listening preference will always give you the best result. When it comes to noise cancellation, both models are officially rated at -55 dB. And honestly, the Air 5 Pro and the Pro Plus performs pretty much the same in real use. Their mid to low frequency cancellation can reach around 50 dB, which is actually solid. The bass noise cancellation is strong enough to kill about 90% of the air conditioner hum, the traffic rumble, that kind of stuff. So if you're someone who works outdoors a lot, these are definitely going to work in your favor. But for the upper mids and highs, most of what you're getting is passive isolation. You can hear things get a bit muffled, but that's all about it. If you mostly work indoors, the ANC will probably feel just not terrible, but nothing impressive either. The design has not much changed. They basically turned everything gold for that little touch of premium. And yep, you can hear the difference, and you just can't see the difference. And in terms of fit, the H3 is definitely more comfortable. Because with the Air5 Pro Plus, I start feeling some soreness after about 2 hours. And I think the xMEMS really does seem to eat up more battery. The endurance is actually worse than the previous generation. And here's their final scores. When I was testing them, I still didn't know the price, but honestly, if the Air5 Pro Plus lands somewhere about $80 to $90, I'd totally recommend it. It gave me the same feeling like wow that I had the same with the SoundPEATS FE. Alright, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for sticking with me. And if there's any interiors or wireless earbuds you want me to compare, feel free to leave a comment below. See you in the next video. Good one, Jessy.